Welcome back to Foodie Down Bronx. I'm your host, M, the Hungry Dominican. Healthy Bronx Bites with Mary is a new bi-weekly segment with our health and wellness correspondent, Mary Vin Rose. Let's see what Mary's got for us today.
Hi, M and Foodie Down Bronx viewers. Welcome to Healthy Bronx Bites with Mary. I'm Mary Vin Rose. Today, I'm happy to be joined on set with Nadia Qureshi. She is from Norishedbynadia. Welcome, Nadia.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm so excited for the goodness that you have brought with us today. So before we even get into this delicious food that you have for us, give me a little bit of background about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a holistic nutritionist. I've been a nutritionist for about 5 years now. And as we spoke earlier, I actually used to work in the finance world. So I wanted to do something that was actually helping people, and that's kind of how I came across becoming a nutritionist. So for the last 5 years, I've been a nutritionist. I've been doing nutrition consultations. I launched products last year, and we'll talk about some of those too. Yeah.
Good.
So it incorporates some of the spices that we're going to be using today. And then I also do cooking classes.
Oh, so that's what we're going to do today.
Yes,
we're going to talk more about the cooking. What I love about this is that these are simple dishes where, like, I think you said 10 ingredients and less. And that way, all our viewers at home can actually go ahead and do it on their own. So let's get started with the first dish that we have here. What is this called?
So this is a traditional Pakistani comfort food. It's called Daal. So my take on it is I add spinach to it. So basically, you put all the ingredients. You put red lentils, which I have right here. We put about a teaspoon of coriander powder, a teaspoon of salt.
We go a little slower. So what is this?
So this is coriander powder. So it's basically the coriander seeds, which is cilantro. It's also known as cilantro.
What is that good for? Because I've never heard of that. I've never used that spice.
It is great for, I would say all of these are kind of anti-inflammatory. They're good for digestion. So,
which is really good for this time of year,
exactly.
Especially in the East Coast.
These are all very warming spices. And then I also like to use sea salt. So it's about a teaspoon of sea salt. And we would put all of these ingredients into a pot, maybe like a medium-sized pot. And then turmeric as well. So about a teaspoon of turmeric. Turmeric, I'm sure you've heard a lot about lately. It is also very warming. It's anti-inflammatory. It is great for, I'll take turmeric if I have like a headache or something.
Oh, wow, just like turmeric straight.
Yeah, it's great for pain, arthritis, all kinds of things. And then, so this is chili powder. Now I know that there are different types of chili powders throughout the world. This is actually comes from that part of the world. So in like the Pakistan region of that part of the world. So it is very spicy.
I know, right before we started, I snuck a little bit in. I was like, oh, okay, I need a little bit of water. So if someone wanted to get something a little less spicy, what would you recommend? Another type?
You could actually just use less. Like I like to make it spicy, but you could probably half this. I put 2 teaspoons. And then we have 1 cup of red lentils. So we put everything into a pot along with 2.5 cups of water. You let that come to a boil, and then you simmer it for about 15 minutes.
So what would someone normally do? Would they have like a pot, they boil the water, and then once the water is like comes to a boil, then you add your seasonings?
So you can actually add everything all together. That's the, so that's the easy thing about this is that you can add everything, aside from the spinach, and I'll explain that in a second, but you add everything into the pot, then just let it cook for 15 minutes. And then at the end, so the thing about greens is, first of all, I love to add greens wherever I can. So I like to add spinach to this because spinach, when you cook it, it actually has a higher iron content.
Really, than when it's raw?
Exactly, yeah. Even it's great raw too, but when you cook it, it actually has higher iron. So I like to add that in into this at the end. The longer that you cook greens or spinach, it actually loses some of the nutrient content. So I always like to add it just until it's wilted. So as you can see here, so I don't know if I can, if anyone can see this.
Look how good that looks.
But so this is all of the ingredients. So it's so simple. It takes about 5 minutes to really put together, and then about 15 to 18 minutes to cook.
And then what do you normally pair this with? I see we have a nice bowl of something else here.
So normally, traditionally in Pakistan, people will either usually eat this with like pita bread or on rice. But I figure, so rice, a lot of times white rice is very heavy. You end up feeling tired. And
I'm not gonna lie, I love me some white rice, but I try to do it in moderation. So this is a nice alternative.
So this is a cauliflower rice, and I'll show you how to make this as well. So this is pre-riced cauliflower rice. Okay. So these days, I feel like cauliflower rice is so popular that they've actually started selling this pre-riced, which basically means it looks like rice. They chop it up or put it in a food processor or a blender, and then it's
chop it up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually very easily available to any supermarket these days. If you look in their produce section, they'll usually have cauliflower rice. So you can also take a full cauliflower, chop off the stem, add it to a blender or a food processor, and then just process it until it looks like rice. So that's the other alternative too. So the way that we're going to cook cauliflower rice, how we would normally make it, is we would add about a half teaspoon of salt.
Okay. Does it matter the salt? Do you have a preference?
I like sea salt.
Okay.
Personally.
Is there a reason for that?
It just I don't personally like the iodine salt. They're very processed, and I like the pure. I like to try to get pure salt.
And because it's pure, you can use a little less.
Exactly, yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So I know my family, they either have diabetes or high blood pressure.
Yeah.
So when they hear I'm using a little bit of salt on something,
Yeah.
they always freak out. What is like the myth around salt? Is salt bad for you? Is it good for you?
So for those who do have like heart disease or diabetes, they should definitely limit their salt intake.
Okay.
A lot of people are totally salt-free, and then they just end up using a lot of different spices to make it still flavorful. But yeah, it is kind of true. I still use salt, but I don't use a lot of salt. Like I'll try to limit the amount of salt just enough, just so the food tastes good.
Right.
Yeah.
I think when you're using a sea salt, like you said, instead of an iodine, you don't actually have to use as much, right?
Right.
Because it's more of a pure, concentrated
Right.
form. So how do we go about making this?
So the first thing we would do actually, so we have a half an onion right here. I would just chop that up into like maybe kind of like diced. Add that to a wok or like a large skillet, and let that cook until it's like softened, about 5 minutes. And then you add about 1 clove of garlic minced, a teaspoon of ginger, cook that down for like a minute. And then you add all the spices and the cauliflower, and that's it.
That sounds so easy, but so delicious. It's so flavorful, so impactful. So if someone wanted to put this together, how would we do it? Would we like grab the cauliflower first?
Yeah, so we would take the cauliflower first. So we would basically take the cauliflower rice here. And I did add some cilantro as well to that.
Yeah, I'll just move this over.
Yeah, and the great thing about cauliflower as well is that it's high in vitamin C, and vitamin C is really great for iron absorption. So like I mentioned earlier about iron, lentils are high in iron, the spinach is high in iron, and then the cauliflower paired with that helps the iron absorb better because of the vitamin C. So overall, it's just a great food combination.
So this is something that's so good for lunch or even like at dinner when you come home, easy to make, something that you can like probably meal prep, which I'm all about.
Exactly.
One thing I also love is like a good smoothie in the morning. So what do you recommend if someone like me who just wants to get in and out but wants to be healthy during the winter time?
So this is actually, sure. So what we have here, this is also a traditional Pakistani smoothie. It's called a mango lassi.
Mango lassi. I like the way that sounds.
It's very simple. I have frozen mango chunks here. And you can get that in any supermarket.
So how much do we have to put in?
So we're going to add about a cup in here.
So we don't have a measuring cup as of right now, but we're going to eyeball this. Yeah. Right?
Because it also depends on what your preference is. Some people like it thicker, like just like any milkshake.
Yeah, I think that's good, right? That
maybe a little more. Yeah. And then I also have, so traditionally we use cow's milk, but I'm actually going to use almond milk. And this is the silk almond milk. And when you're buying different types of, I guess really anything, just make sure it's unsweetened. So I bought the unsweetened almond milk. And we are just going to add about a half cup to this. And then we'll see, we'll see if that's the consistency that we like.
And what's the next ingredient?
So the next ingredient is the almond milk.
Okay.
So we're gonna add again about around a half cup of almond milk.
And then what is this little baby?
So that is maple syrup. So usually,
I got excited. And sugar. I'm a sugar person. I'm not gonna lie.
Usually people add sugar to it, but I figured almond milk is, maple syrup is a little bit healthier. It is still a sweetener, but I figured it's a little healthier, so we'll add a little bit of maple syrup, maybe like a couple teaspoons. That's good.
I probably did more than a teaspoon, but
And that's it. And then you just blend this, and then that's your shake. So
can you tell I don't have one of these at home?
there you go. And that's it.
That's so good. Thank you. And what's so good about this? Like, what vitamins does it have? I know obviously the vitamin C from the mango, but
so the vitamin C is really great. The almond milk, so that's also fiber. And then the coconut milk, the almond milk is great too as well. It has probiotics in it. They've actually added probiotics to it. So overall, this whole meal is great for digestion. It is great for, because of the high fiber content, it's good for diabetes, high blood pressure, all of those great things. So
and can we get a shot of us just tasting this? Because I know you know what it tastes like, and I kind of know what it tastes like, so I cheated, but I still want just a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And what I'm really glad about this smoothie as well is that it doesn't have banana in it. I'm actually probably one of a few people in New York City that's allergic to the banana.
Oh, you're allergic.
Yeah, so this is really good.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you again so much for joining us here on set. I want to say thank you to our viewers at home for watching. But you want to stay around, stay healthy and connected with Nadia on Instagram with Nourished by Nadia. And you can visit norishedbynadia.com to find out more information. Don't go anywhere. Foodie Down Bronx will be right back.